When gish gallopers can't win an argument, they gish gallop. That's why they do this. So we're going to be getting on this horse. Get out your riding crop. Here we go. Piso, a theory about the origin story for where the Bible came from. This has been bandied about for a long time, and people like discussing it, as opposed to the other idea of it being a fictitious work that atheists produce. Because this other theory says that, no, there's something to religion, instead of that it's all just made up stuff. No. But anyway, I did a video explaining why the mythical Piso didn't exist, because there's dozens of people with a similar name during this period of time, and also, more importantly, none of them were involved in any of this stuff, and nobody's tried to connect them, because they're trying to invent literally a straw man character named Piso and then attribute it to them, because there's no history for this person, so they're more mysterious. That was the crux of the video I posted. But anyway, someone's posting is, and I'm rewriting all of this, they're not direct quotes, but I put them in quotes to be for the person who sent this to me. It doesn't matter if Piso or some sun cult of Solis Invictus secret society or a scriptorium monks, misspelled, wanted to create slogans to pacify followers, memes, and so wrote the New Testament. What about the Old Testament? Couldn't this have also been done? Anyway. It doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter if I'm right, because invoke three possible origin stories, none of which were talked about in the video, so they could get their plug for the day out of this. There you go. Links below in the description. Anyway, here we go. So, this person's ignoring the mythic Piso. Probably didn't exist at all and was invented by somebody who wanted to create a conspiracy theory, what we call now a conspiracy theory, or a meme, to use as propaganda against a different religion, or a different interpretation of it. Don't accept that, even though that's kind of like really easily figured out. And that a lot of forgeries were involved, and they're acknowledged as forgeries. No, it doesn't matter if there's forgeries. There's a completely different standard of evidence, proof, reality, and truth, depending on whether you want to win an argument. So here we go next. So they're ignoring this person didn't exist, and that there were many real persons from 211 BC to 260 AD named Piso who could have been the archetypal character for this that don't match the story. And then you say it doesn't matter since it could have been a conspiracy by 2nd century AD cult. I'm being generous, it's actually 300 AD. Or a refoundation of the Latin cult of Sol, sun worshippers, or revival of the cult of Elagabalus, or just evil doing of nearsighted scribes accidentally making mistakes in such a way that they create an entire new work. Or my video is correct and you're just wrong and you just won't let it up. Okay, now let's cover the rest of the assertions here, just because this brings up, this isn't a can of worms. They had esoteric knowledge of what is now termed astrotheology, except astrotheology isn't really a thing. The term astrotheology is used in the context of 18th and 19th century scholarship aiming at the discovery of an original religion. Find the oldest religion and decide that that's the real thing, that old-time religion. Particularly primitive monotheism, because astrolatry, which is an actual thing that's very well defined, it usually implies polytheism, which is something Christians aren't comfortable discussing. It's been around a lot longer, and is frowned upon as idolatrous. Never mind, it might be factually what happened in a group of people 400 BC and back. You don't like it. The pantheon of gods. Anyway, you're just not going to we don't talk about that. Okay, so we don't talk about an entire section of history. Anyway, and so we make up the term because astrotheology is a term that's sort of made up. It's actually fused together properly with astrolatry. By the way, pro tip, astrolatry is hard to pronounce. Let's just call it astrotheology and make everybody happy. I'm perfectly okay with that. But that means you have to deal with polytheism, and you guys don't want it. The idea is that you would be... it's a less ambiguous term, also is Urreligion, or Uber-religion, used by adherents of the various religions to back up their claim that their own religion excuse me, is somehow more primeval or older or has a better pedigree. See also Islamic fundamentalists on the internet refusing to acknowledge that their religion is really not as old as they usually think it is. The idea is to make a false authority of historical claims. And it's so over the top in your face that it's comical. Our religion's older than yours is, my dad's bigger than yours is, whatever. Anyway, the historical claim that these were also monotheistic when they're recorded as being polytheistic is ignored, or they get angry about it, or they won't talk about it. If your belief system is predated by a bunch of belief systems that are completely incompatible, and the thing is, not all of them are. Some of them are the same thing. They just were polytheistic, such as Christmas being based on the worship of a different god. But anyway, here we go. I'm being mean here. Next. And let's talk about sources of esoteric knowledge. Let's get that esoteric knowledge. And earth changes. I'm impersonating hyper-liberal people who squeal about things that aren't real at all, by the way. Sources of non-scientific knowledge, otherwise known as colloquially known as bullshit, in my opinion, it's just my opinion actually, include revelation, meditation, I'm throwing philosophy into the bus here too, and esoteric or secret knowledge, meaning it wouldn't be something that anybody else can understand unless they're somehow special. Meaning when you're wrong and someone points out you're wrong, you just say that the other person's not smart enough to understand it. Yeah, that's what it comes from. It's a form of elitism. Yes, it is elitism. Esoteric knowledge. According to one myth, for instance, you can get knowledge just by eating a particular fruit from a tree, and no, you can't. However, in one of the Matrix movies, you can eat a cake and have fun. But anyway, next. Christianity was created as a program and a conspiracy with 3 different chronologies for Jesus. And the New Testament is not an original text and parallel sequences from the Old Testament, along with all sorts of unrelated tribal oral traditions. And well, yes, that's why a lot of us atheists say the whole thing's BS. I'm not arguing with a lot of this. It's a conspiracy and a system of control. Yes, I'm invoking the movie The Matrix. And yes, there's 3 different chronologies, at least, to various things in the Bible, because it was written by bunches of people, and that also includes the Old Testament. The stuff doesn't match because it's a collection of cultural artifacts, oral history stuck together as best anybody could to make it moderately readable. Just to act as a kind of a quick reference guide to why you have a celebration in fall versus spring. I'm going to get to that, actually, something useful. Plagiarized religion has been incorporated repeatedly with geometric symbols. You mean the piece of alchemy and mathematics that ended up being what real chemistry and real mathematics is? People noticing mathematical symbolism everywhere, or more accurately, subconsciously understanding that mathematics is insanely important? They worship geometric symbols. No, they figured out through geometry that there was some sort of sense in the world you could make and quantify and maybe manipulate. Did you know that an entire subsection of Islam at one point was the origin story for Arabic letters and Arabic numbering, which is also where algebra comes from. And then it was killed because someone said mathematics is problematic, it's triggering. We can't have that. It liberates people and makes the world liberal and inclusive. So let's get rid of algebra and go back to reading one damn book over and over and over again and not advancing since the 13th century. Ignorance is your enemy. Ignorance is the devil. But for some reason, the tree of knowledge is a sign of this bias, this inherent beaten into people's heads bias against learning is not acceptable in the real world. If you want to stay ignorant, go right off that cliff. But please stop dragging everybody else with you. Next, I'm going to get to the next one. Obviously, it's infested with gematria. Metaphoric astrotheology, Luciferian concepts, written by different occult authors. So what you're saying is there's a bunch of people who got together to write Old and New Testament, and that they included, in your opinion, some hidden hints that only the special people can see, including being able to take letters and numbers, convert them into take letters of the alphabet, convert them into numbers, sounds like a computer converting stuff over to binary, and then somehow magically incantation in it. And then you run into a person like me who'll say, you're playing Scrabble. Stop it! Occult authors. You mean the overt authors of every single belief system in existence? You call it occult? Esoteric knowledge? People making up crap to explain away the world because they don't know where it is, so they leave these stories as a filler, as a placeholder for reality. Well, the stars in the heaven are hung up there by God. No, they're stars. They're suns far away. And this is closer, and it's a light bulb. And next we'll get on to conspiracy theory. It's a CIA-created smear. You can smear word. You can look up the document 1035-960, and of course no link was given. To ridicule those who address conspiracies which are not theories, and your assertion makes it so. But as far back as 1870, the use of the term conspiracy theory was used to describe extreme hypotheses and implausible speculation as part of a culture like hyper-nationalism, ideological and religious fundamentalism, and has always been a disparaging term, if not qualified, because it's the last bastion of someone losing an argument because they create an incredibly unnecessarily convoluted answer for something that's as simple as steel weakens when you heat it. That's how you anneal metal. Ad nauseum. What was noticed probably much earlier than that is that when people have a straightforward cause and effect to look at, they want to create a sort of a social mysticism and call it a freaking conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy hypothesis if you don't have a mechanism that makes sense in and of itself. Within your own constructed reality you're doing here, a thought experiment, if it doesn't work within that, if it falls apart, why are you presenting a failed model? Because you want to have an argument. It's been around since 1870, so the CIA was around in 1870? Oh, you're talking about the 1971 where they used the term, and I'll try to include a link to it because this person doesn't think anybody should know this. It's secret. Esoteric knowledge. Next. The cross isn't even Christian. No, it's a physical shape, geometrically created. It's also part of how you build a building. If you didn't notice, a lot of buildings have... Christ is a constructed term. Yes, your own personal Jesus Christ, your own personal Christ. Christ is an honorific. That's one thing this person got correct, based on the word anointed one, etc. Next, I'm going to bring up something fun. In the past, the 3 days following December 21st remained the darkest days of the year, and after December 25th, the sun moves a fraction of a degree, foreshadowing longer days and a new beginning. The sun's holding still in the sky. Just a food for thought. Maybe everybody should go on a diet. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And thank you to the person who posted all this for acknowledging you couldn't argue the point and just decided it doesn't matter because you lost.